Have you ever had someone tell you, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now? And then 2 weeks later, you see them dating someone else. Oh, I've been there. Many of us have. And this episode is for you if you are in that space right now. Today, I'm going to be breaking down the real reasons why this is happening, what it means about them, what it doesn't mean about you, and how to move through it without questioning your worth. I want to speak directly to your heart, not that part of you in the mind that's trying to analyze or figure out where you went wrong, having thoughts like, why wasn't I enough? Did I do something wrong? Are they better than me? Because trust me, this isn't about you not being enough. This is about emotional maturity, timing, recognizing red flags early so you can stop making it mean something about your value. And we're going to break all this down together today. This episode is about peeling back the truth behind those painful moments and gently guiding you towards peace, clarity, and acceptance because you deserve that. So, before we dive into that episode, I want to take a moment to share something really special with you. If you've been nodding along to this podcast, if you've listened to a few episodes or you listen to this one and you're like, yep, I recognize this in myself. I believe that I identify with something like an anxious attachment, that I feel anxiety in relationships, and I tend to spiral into self-doubt and overthinking every time something doesn't work out, and I just seem to be attracting emotionally unavailable partners all the time. Or maybe you're in relationship, but you cannot ground, you cannot settle, and you're just constantly thinking about when they're going to leave you. If this sounds like you, I want to personally invite you to join me inside Securely Attached. This is my signature group program designed to help you go from that anxious space, overgiving, second guessing yourself and your worth, to feeling calm, grounded, and confident in how you show up in relationships. And inside this container, we're not just doing the work. We're healing at the root together in sisterhood. This is a women's only program. And we combine psychology, attachment theory, spiritual alignment to give you a holistic approach to help you to stop abandoning yourself, to start honoring your worth, to finally feel secure within yourself, no matter what's happening around you in your relationships. So if you're ready to feel emotionally safe in love, not just with a partner, but with yourself, I'd love for you to be a part of this next round. You can get all the details in the link in the show notes at sammyreedcoaching.com/securely attached. And if you have any questions at all, my DMs are always open and I would just love to support you on this journey. Doors for this program will be closing at the end of April. So make sure you get your spot before then. And you can also book in a free 30-minute chat if you do want to talk things through with me. All right, let's get into this episode because this one is going to hit home for a lot of us. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my secure lovers. Welcome back to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I am Samantha, your breakup and relationship coach and attachment specialist, helping you heal your anxious heart and become secure in yourself and in relationship. Today's episode is going to be a big one. A lot of us has been in this space where we have been in a situationship or a dating, and 3 months, 6 months, 10 months in, we're trying to have that chat about where we are going. Are we going to be exclusive? Are we in a relationship? Because we deserve clarity and we deserve to know where we're heading with this person. And maybe we're starting to develop feelings and we do see ourselves committing to this person. And then they turn around and say, I'm not ready for a relationship. That all cop out. And we're devastated because it's not in alignment with what we want. We deserve and desire commitment, and they're not meeting us in this space. And as we know, we cannot force anyone to meet us in this space. And that's really difficult to then make that decision whether we continue being in this connection as a situationship style, only for it to end whenever they're ready to end it, or we don't abandon ourselves in that way. We actually honor what we want and desire and we end that connection, which is so, so, so tough and heartbreaking because we wish it could be different. And I'm talking about this today because it's come up twice in my clients' journeys. And I always take it as a sign when my clients or more than one client experiences something that we need to talk about it because there's probably a lot of us going through it right now. And I have been through it as well. And just wanted to share my story here as well about that, about what really is happening, the honest truth of what is really going on underneath that statement, I'm not ready for a relationship. So let's get going. Let's dive into this. I'm going to start with just letting you know what this looked like in my own experience. And maybe I'm going to bring in snippets of my clients' journeys as well without fully revealing their stories because I want to honor and respect their privacy. But of course, you can hear mine. So I was dating someone for 10 months in a situationship, and I knew that I really liked him and I wanted to progress. I wanted us to progress. I didn't want us to date other people. And yeah, that was it. And expressed this desire to him multiple times. And even from the beginning, I think when we first started having this conversation, and at first it's like, so are we exclusive? Are we dating other people? And I remember him saying, I actually want to keep myself open. That should have been a red flag right there. Him saying that. I want to stay open because maybe I do want to date other people. I don't think he was dating other people at that moment, but the fact that he expressed that he wanted to should have been enough. And I'm just not sure if I'm ready for a relationship. I just got out of a long-term relationship, and that in and of itself was true. And that's how I almost validated it. Even if it was true or not, it was still self-abandonment on my part when I reflect back because I was ready for a relationship. And this person's telling me I'm not ready. So I took that as a challenge for, okay, so that means I just need to prove myself more, that I'm worthy of your love, that I am enough, and that one day you will change your mind. One day you will be ready. So I clung on to that hope that that was going to happen. So I continued with the situationship. And it got to a point, I allowed it to get to a point where we were living together, we were sharing finances, we were talking about traveling together. And I'm like, this is a full-blown relationship. Like, I'm doing girlfriend things with him, and he feels like a boyfriend. We're spending a lot of time together. We're living together, for heaven's sake. But every time I brought the conversation up, he pushed me away. I'm not ready, just not ready for a relationship. Can we just stay as we are? Like, this is good for me. And I continued to agree. I continued to be like, yeah, okay, I guess I don't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to lose him. That was what was really going on under the root of it all. I didn't want to lose this person from my life. So instead, I pushed my needs to one side and I continued in this facade for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months more. And it came to a head when I was actually in the UK visiting family and we were talking about traveling together. And there was just this inner voice inside me was like, Sammy, you deserve more. You deserve better. So while we were in these conversations, I said, look, if we are going to travel together and we're going to do this, we're actually going to do life together. I need to know that you're committed to me. I need to know that we are in a relationship. And we explored why that was valuable for me to know, why that label was valuable. It's fine to want a label. We need to stop shaming ourselves for wanting a label. Instead, get curious. What does it mean for me to have that label? For me, it meant security. For me, it meant that this is my boyfriend and we're now doing life together. We're making decisions together. And he can no longer use we're not in a relationship as a cop out for not doing the tough things. He wanted his cake and eat it, basically. And again, he said, well, no, that's not what it means. And I knew in that moment, deep down, I had to be brave. I had to. have my own back in that moment and end the connection because I realized that if I didn't, this is going to continue until maybe he does find someone else and then he ends it. Who knows when that would be? Maybe a year, maybe two. So that was what was going on. And what was the most heartbreaking thing then was 2 months later, he was dating someone new. That is just crippling. I'm going to validate us all right here, right now, that it frickin' hurts. And you deserve and get to and are valid in your pain and to feel upset and to feel crushed by this. But on the other end of the stick, I also used it as a catalyst, as a tool to be like, okay, all right, so this is information now, even though it frickin' hurts, and I allowed myself to cry, I allowed myself to feel. I was like, this person is really showing me who he is. And I never really got to the bottom of why. Instead, I did a lot of research as a professional and also just coaching clients as well and talking to people on the other side who says that they're not ready for a relationship, what's really going on, that I was able to formulate some understanding of what's really happening when they say this phrase, I'm not ready for a relationship. Because he progressed with this other girl and they then got into a relationship. Which for me, I'm thinking, you told me that I wasn't ready. You told me you was not ready for a relationship, and now you're getting into a relationship with this person. It was painful. I felt so rejected and abandoned in that moment. But I also used it to help me move on, to let him go, to come to a space of acceptance because otherwise I would have kept holding on to hope that one day he would change his mind, that one day he would realize what he'd lost and he'd come back to me. So, of course, in hindsight, once I moved through it, once I allowed myself to heal my heart and move through into secure attachment, I was able to reflect and look back and be like, right, I understand now why it went the way it went. I had lessons to learn, and looking back, she probably is a better match for him. But in the moment, you don't see it, and I get it. But I'm just offering a reflection that in hindsight, and you probably have had experiences in the past where you felt so attached to someone, maybe your high school sweetheart, and then you broke up and you saw them getting into a new relationship, you were crushed, but in the end, you were fine and you moved on to someone new. And then you were able to look back and be like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe they were a better match. And that is one of the reasons as to why this may be happening is because this person only saw you as someone that they wanted in your life as a connection and nothing more. And that freaking stings. And I'm not saying that this is what was happening, it is a possibility. But the thing is with these people, they will not just upfront say that because they feel bad. They don't want to hurt our feelings. So instead, they make it about them. They make it about, oh, it's me. I'm not ready for a relationship. It's not you. Because that's the truth. It's not you. It's them and their emotional maturity, but they're avoiding feeling uncomfortable. Sometimes they're just not able to communicate that deeper truth of, I don't see this connection continuing into a relationship, but I still want to have you in my life in some capacity, shape, or form that suits me. And as long as you're agreeing to that, then we can continue and everything is great. But it's not because you're continuing and you're agreeing against your own wishes. So we have to kind of take some accountability here too of how we're abandoning ourselves when we're saying we want a commitment, but they're not following through with it. So they don't really know how to say this truth that they don't see this connection getting more serious than a situationship without hurting you. So instead, they soften the blow and make it about them. But here's the thing to think about, right? If this is what's happening. Someone who can't communicate with that level of honesty and emotional maturity is already not aligned with what you deserve, with where you're going, which is into a securely attached space. You deserve someone who's going to be honest and upfront. It's not easy, but it's possible to say to somebody, I really enjoy your company. I want us to keep seeing each other, but I gotta be honest with you. I don't see this progressing any more than what we have already. How do you feel about that? That's tough. That's vulnerable. So that's why instead people choose to avoid that whole conversation and make it about them instead. But that is what is needed and should be respected in all relationships because sometimes it is just that. Now, before we move on to the other reason that I want to highlight, I just want to take a moment to ensure that you're not internalizing this experience that you're going through, that you're seeing this person you thought you would have a relationship with go on to date someone new or even get into a relationship. Because I know at this moment, we can start to pull ourselves apart. We can start to think maybe if I was a little bit more like this or less of that, and we start to really tear at ourselves. I want you to stop, really stop, place your hand on your heart and listen to me. It's not that you were too much. It's not that they're better than you as a human being. And it's not that you weren't enough. You are intrinsically whole and enough as you are. It could just be that they thought it was not a good match for them. And unfortunately, a lot of people will keep us dangling on that string until they do find that better match. But you have the power here to cut yourself off that string. Now, it's not about letting them off the hook. They have their own work to do. But I'm here for you. I'm here to empower you. And the way that you can do that for yourself is to cut that string. Say, I'm not accepting this. I know what I want. I know what I deserve. And I am going to keep working on myself. I'm going to stay true to myself. I'm going to enjoy my sacred single era until that person comes along, because I know they will. Because sometimes we can hang on to these situationships because we have this lack mentality. We think that there is no one coming along. We think this is the best that we can do. And I do have an episode all about situationships if that's something that you want to dive into. We're not going to do that today on this episode, but it is there for you if you do want to go off into that path. Another thing I want to highlight is that just because we're observing this person that we were dating entering into another dating connection or relationship very quickly, especially very quickly, just to note that if someone is hopping from connection to connection, they're not doing the work on themselves. They are going to continue to treat people the way that they treated you. So when we're observing that, we're like, this person is not interested in working on their emotional maturity. They're not interested in working on their avoidance or their communication style or whatever was causing discomfort and anxiety for you in that experience. They're just numbing their feelings and getting into another connection because at the end of the day, they're just chasing to get their needs met. And I'm no longer available for that. So if I'm no longer available for it, they're going to go look elsewhere. And that person's going to have the same treatment until that person realizes that they cannot go around treating people like that. They do need to do that internal work on themselves. And we cannot take it upon themselves to change them, to force them, to fix them, to let them know about that. We just need to wash our hands of them, wish them the best, hope that they do have that realization one day and move on with our lives. So I'm just saying this because sometimes we put this person on a pedestal that if they tell us they're not ready for a relationship and they start to date again, we can start to internalize that to make it mean something about us, but it's something about them. They do not have the capacity for commitment. So that poor person who they've moved on to is going to have the same treatment. And if she's cool with it or he's cool with it, great. But maybe they're not. And we can just hope that that person is going to be able to empower themselves to be able to stand up for themselves. The other reason why this might be happening is because maybe there is a possibility that they have changed, that in that time period, and it absolutely could happen to someone over the period of a few months. And I'm gonna kind of offer you the psychology of what it means for a human being to go through the five stages of change. But it could be a possibility that this person has moved from being in a space of not being ready for a relationship to being ready for a relationship. And maybe they're realizing that, but also still not choosing to be in the relationship with you. And that is something that we do need to accept. And that's really, really tough, again, to be able to see that, okay, so this person has been in a connection with me. And because they were in this connection with me, now they're realizing they want to be in a relationship. This can be a really, really tough pill to swallow, but it could be a possibility. This one is really tough, hard to hear. So I want you to always pay attention to the feelings, the sensations in your body. And if this is too much to hear right now, you are always so welcome to just return back to this episode when you feel more comfortable in yourself and ready to hear. And again, this may or may not be happening. I am just offering some insights here as to what happens in the human psyche when we get this statement, I'm not ready for a relationship. And why this can be hard is because I know that you can see the potential in this person. I know you can do that because you have a big, big heart. You always see the good in people. And maybe you saw in this person that they could be committed to you, that they could be an amazing boyfriend or girlfriend. If only they got over their shit, if only they healed that part of themselves, you would be amazing together. And we could always want that and see that for someone. But again, we cannot force that to happen. It's change never happens because of something external of you. Real change happens internally. That person has to go through an internal shift in order to create real change. We can always be externally motivated to change, but external motivation only takes you so far. Something has to click within internally where that person hits rock bottom. Maybe you can resonate with this as well. Hits rock bottom and is like, something needs to change. I cannot continue doing this anymore. This is not okay. This is not the life I want to lead. This is not the person I want to be. And unless I take drastic action towards something, nothing in my life is going to change. And they say that moment, and I see it with all my clients who come into my coaching programs, in that moment, the external motivation may be a breakup, maybe a partner, but it's an internal drive that really gets them into that space of taking action. And this is what possibly could be happening here as well. Because yes, people can change. Yes, men and women can work on becoming emotionally available. And yes, someone can grow into being a better partner. And yes, they could come back around and present you with all this change. But that's what they need to do. They need to win you back. If that's so, we cannot keep ourselves available for this person. We have to move on with our lives as well. We cannot be sitting in a waiting room. Absolutely not. We're not doing that anymore. And you may have moved on to someone even better by the time they come back around. Or they may not come back around and they may grow and evolve into their up-leveled version of themselves, into their securely attached selves, and continue to move on with their lives. So people change when they are ready, when they decide to change, not because of anything that you do, not because you waited for them, not because you broke yourself into pieces to try to fix them, to inspire them to change, not because you loved them harder or changed anything about yourself. This is how we abandon and sacrifice ourselves in our relationships, only to find that it really doesn't make that much of a difference. If anything, it may even push them further away because maybe they do care about you and love you in some capacity and they see the effect that this is having on you and they're like, God damn, like I cannot witness this anymore. Like she's this amazing person, but I cannot be in this connection where she's self-sacrificing. And they then create distance because of that reason. So let's get a little bit nerdy here about these 5 stages of change, just to give you an insight to soothe that spiraling brain. You're probably really overthinking. The stories are just popping off like popcorn in the microwave in your head. And let's just kind of bring some soothing material here for that brain. So there's a model, there's a theory called the stages of change. The cycle of change is also known as well. It really helps explain what might be happening when someone comes to us and says that they're not ready for a relationship and then suddenly they are. So the five stages are, the first one is pre-contemplation. And this is when someone is in a space where they're not even aware of the problem. Maybe we've dated an avoidant and they're just in pre-contemplation. They don't see that there's problems. They don't see that there's anything to look at in their behavior, and maybe it's everyone else's fault. This is someone who can't even recognize that there is an issue or a problem. The second stage is contemplation. So this is when someone is considering change. They are now aware of their patterns. They're aware of their behavior. And they're like, maybe I do need to start to look at this. Maybe I do need to start to change. But they're still not taking action. Instead, they're just thinking about it. And this is with everything that we want to change in our life. We start to think about it first before we take action. The third stage is preparation. So this is when we start to plan for it. Oh, okay. So I recognize that I have my patterns, I have my behaviors, I recognize that something needs to change. And now I'm moving into the preparation stage. What can I do in order to actually put things in place for me to step into that space of change? This is where a lot of people maybe start to invest in coaching, in therapy, in courses, in books, start listening to podcasts. This is maybe you're here in a preparation stage right now in order to move into a securely attached space. Maybe not taking like big action right now. Preparation is a form of action, and you're getting ready. You're getting ready for that change. The fourth one is action. This is when we actually do something about it. We actually press that button to say, yep, sign me up to that program. Or we actually, start to do the work that we're reading about in the book or that we're learning about in the course. We're putting knowledge into practice. So this is when we're starting to take action towards change. And then the fifth stage is maintenance, sustaining it. So it's one thing to make that decision and do it. But there's another thing, sustaining it, maintaining it, continuing that change. And another very simple example here would be going to the gym, right? It's a big thing going to the gym when you haven't been for a few years, and we go through all these stages, but then we actually need to keep going to the gym. We actually need to keep showing up for ourselves and doing the work. We actually need to keep doing that course. And that's how we reach a space of change. So you may have met this person in the pre-contemplation stage where they don't even see there's an issue with not wanting commitment. They're very happy with as they are. They don't want to change. And there's nothing that we can do to get them to that space of change. As we know, they got to get there themselves. And then by the time they meet someone else, and yes, they can go through these stages in a very quick space. And it is really not up to us to judge whether they have done the work or not. But I mean, it's only been a couple of months. So let's leave it at that. But he or she may have entered that action stage where it's like, okay, I was in this connection with this person. I know that they said I wasn't ready for a relationship, but actually, upon reflection, I think I might be. I think I might be, but even with them or without them. But I kind of liked that connection. So maybe I need to start preparing myself for a relationship, and then they get into action and do that. So it could be the fact that they are just moving through these stages of change. And it's not because the person that they meet after you is a better person than you. It's because he or she has finally moved forward in their own emotional process. And this is not your failure. This is not your challenge. This is completely and utterly their journey, and you're having your own journey. So it's not personal, and it's not proof that we were enough. Sometimes we take this as evidence to validate those already subconscious limiting beliefs that we hold about ourselves, that we're not enough, that we're not worthy, that we're not important enough. And we use this to validate it, but that's not the case. It's simply where they were on their own journey. And we have nothing more to do in this time, in this space, than to accept that for what it is, and accept that we only have full control over our own journey, and to bring the focus back to you. And this is where we can start to take our power back Let them move on with their lives. I know it's really tough and I know you wish it was different, but we have to let them move on with their lives. And I promise you, when you do lean into this space, you are growing stronger. That pain that you're feeling, that's growing pain. It is making you stronger. It is making you more resilient. Maybe if you've been through this before, see if you can pull up on those experiences to remind yourself that you've got this. You can do this. You have that internal strength within you, and you're building it right now by going through it, by choosing to let them go, by choosing to bring the focus back to yourself. You are building your resilience. So I'm going to support you in this process and offer you what I like to call an empowering shift to flip the questions that we may be asking ourselves in our brain. So instead of asking yourselves, what did I do wrong? Or how could I have been better? Instead, I want you to start asking yourself these empowering questions. Did they meet my standards? Are they in their behavior right now? Are they showing me that they're meeting my standards? When I think back to the connection that we had, what did they really bring to the table? Or am I romanticizing them or the idea of them or their potential? Did they really meet my standard? Now, this could be the standard that you currently have, or maybe the standard that you would like to have. If you're projecting yourself in your securely attached era, think about the type of standards you want to have for the partner that you're calling in. Did they meet that? Were they aligned with your values? Were you really compatible, or was this purely built on chemistry? Was this connection really emotionally healthy for me? The fact that they kept me dangling on a string, the fact that they rejected me in such a way and then moved on so quickly. Is this really the person that I'm choosing for myself? Because we need to balance these books. We need to be able to remove this person from that pedestal and start to ask ourselves these questions because you deserve to have someone meet your standards, align with your values, someone who is going to be emotionally mature enough to have a committed relationship. This is all information that you are receiving from this person, from this experience, for you to get curious with, for you to interpret about them and not you. The way that someone handles themselves in dating, in relationships, in communication, in conflict, it's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection for you. It's information for you to receive, to possibly work together on if both parties are willing, because that's part and parcel of a healthy relationship as well, is to be able to not only observe and see compatibility, but to create it within the relationship as well. It's all information for us to observe and get curious with. So, if this has happened to you, I'm going to leave this episode with a love letter to your heart. So please hear this, that you're not crazy for feeling hurt or hung up on this person, no matter how long it's been. This is all an invitation for you to go within and get curious about this pain, for you to start healing this pain, for you to start bringing that focus back to yourself. You're not weak for wanting answers. Your brain is wired to have answers. This is why we create stories in the first place, is because if we don't know what's really going on, then we're going to assume. We're going to create stories because that's the only way that we feel like we have some level of control over the situation. So we'll start to create stories. You're not weak for that. You're not going mad. You're not going backwards in any way for wanting those answers. So we need to be kinder with ourselves, more compassionate when this is happening, that knowing that my brain is just trying to find answers right now and I do not have them. And that in and of itself is difficult to not have those answers because we really want them. And I know a lot of us, myself included, have gone to dark levels to try and get those answers, like snooping on that person's phone to see if they are really dating someone new, to stalk their social media, to go drive past their house to see if there's another car parked outside. We go to these huge levels. We don't mean to, we don't want to, but we do because we really want those answers. Our brain is almost like encouraging us to do this, that actually it's a really great idea. But all part of being securely attached is bringing that focus back on you, knowing that if I go snooping on their phone, if I go driving past their house, I am not going to feel any better about the situation. It is going to hurt regardless. Now, I have a choice here of how I handle this because being securely attached is it doesn't mean not being immune to these experiences. We can stop them before they get as far as this, sure. But we're not immune to anxiety. We're not immune to pain and suffering. We just cope with it better. We handle it better. And the more you make those small decisions for yourself, the more you are handling the situation better for you in the long run, rather than chasing that instant gratification of needing to know now. And you're not unlovable just because they didn't choose you. It's so hard and crushing when someone doesn't choose you and you're fully choosing them. But again, that's information. They're not choosing me. In that moment, you need to choose you. I deserve to be chosen, and it starts with me. If you're not fully choosing me, that's not acceptable in my world anymore. I deserve to be fully chosen. And again, doing that deeper work so you feel in your gut, in your core, that you deserve to be chosen because maybe we were not fully chosen or accepted or seen or heard and understood as a child. So this is why we're now accepting breadcrumbs and someone half choosing us because that's what we're used to, that's what we're familiar with. But the more that you start to rewire your programming, your patterning, your experiences, that will all start to shift. So you were always enough. You still are. And you are growing in your capacity, in your strength, in your resilience from this experience. You are getting closer and closer to that kind of love that feels emotionally safe, spiritually aligned, and ready to meet you exactly where you are. But that is the key here, my loves. You have to get yourself to that place where you want that person to meet you exactly where you are. And when we want a love that feels emotionally safe, we need to create that container for ourselves as well. Do we feel emotionally safe with ourselves to fully express our desires and our feelings and our experiences and our thoughts and our worthiness? Do we have that inner peace, inner sanctuary within ourselves that we're no longer looking outside of ourselves to get that met? Because it's in that space that that emotionally safe, secure, ready to commit partner is going to meet you. So that's it for today, my loves. If this episode resonated with you and brought you clarity and calm and inspiration or anything at all, as always, I'd love to hear your experience listening to this episode. Always, you can reach out to me at the.relationship.rehab on Instagram. Just send me a DM. I always love to hear how these episodes are impacting you, what your biggest takeaways were, and if you feel really called to share this episode with someone who really needs to hear this right now, I would be honored. If you wanted to share this on your socials, always make sure that you tag me so I can thank you personally and share as well. And we can together as a community be able to support one another when we are feeling these types of pains, when we're going through these types of experiences, because trust me, you are not alone. You're absolutely not alone in this. There are many of us. Like I said, this whole episode was prompted on the fact that I have two of my clients going through this right now. So know that you're not alone. You don't need to be alone. You don't have to go through this alone. Reach out to safe communities, just like the ones that we're cultivating in the relationship rehab, and do the healing with other people. We're not meant to heal alone. We're meant to heal in connection. And that could be romantic relationship or platonic relationships. Some of the most healing relationships I've ever had are actually in a group healing setting with sisters or in friendships. These can be very, very powerful. So if you are interested in that level of healing, in those experiences, and you want support shifting from feeling anxious, broken, self-abandoning to choosing you, to feeling anchored in love and being able to call in that emotionally safe partner, you know where to find me. All the links are in the show notes below where you can reach out to me. So until next time, my loves, take care of your heart. Give yourself space, give yourself patience, compassion, gentleness. Don't rush this process. Don't be like, oh God, I wish it was done already, and start to shame yourself. Take care of your heart. And remember, you are not too much. You are not too late to the journey, to the process, and you are not unlovable. You are whole, lovable, and fully deserving of receiving love as you are right now. You are just getting started, my love, and the right relationship will never make you question your worthiness, your enoughness. Sending you love. See you next time. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast.